email staff, professors, students, everybody, and said, we are so proud of our brave students that they navigated the manner that they did. We know how deeply traumatic our presence is on this campus. And so here are some counseling resources for you guys. Just so we see you, we stand with you, we see you here. We see you, we hear you, we love you.
Again.
Nowhere in there did they condemn violence against women, for that matter. Nowhere in there did they say we uphold our First Amendment and the freedom of speech. No, of course not.
The right to civil discourse.
No, forget it. So.
It's so crazy.
And that's just
San Francisco's fallen.
Oh, beyond. I was in San Francisco.
I mean, that's really like, again, if I was going to ruin a country, that's how I would do it. I would tell the children everyone's amazing, and that assault you did, that was warranted, and I know how deeply traumatic that must have been for you. So here's some counseling, because you need counseling. You need to be able to talk about it. So further fuel your narcissism and get involved with someone who constantly wants to talk about you all day. Here's some counseling. Let's talk about you. Great, I really need to focus on me. And then more about you and how amazing you are that you hit this lady who said that men shouldn't be able to compete with women. Fucking duh.
Yeah. And then there's nothing that can be done about it.
Nothing, zero.
So, which is why it's hard, like, for us, and when I say us, I really just mean sane people. I'm not making this conservative versus, Republican versus Democrat type thing. It makes it harder for us in this space to push back when we have district courts or our Department of Justice that really is corrupt. It's incredibly two-tiered.
Yeah. This Fannie Willis thing's awesome, though.
Yeah, right?
I love it.
Isn't it just?
It's fun watching her get sassy.
Well, it's
getting questioned, too.
And that's so telling, right? When she starts freaking out and yelling, and it's like, babe, if you just wanted to be this, or to have this guy be your... No.
What the fuck? How obvious is that? Also, you can't say that you fucking paid for everything in cash. Like, what? Imagine that. Like, this is what I was saying.
Right.
This time again, I'm going to
get it. That'll work.
I'm going to tell him I paid it all in cash. Sorry, no records. All in cash. Where'd you get the cash? I have cash. Where'd you get the fucking cash? You got $50,000 later on? That's cool. Who does that?
But they do that because they know there's a chance of it working.
Not really. I think she thought the system is more rigged than it is, because I think most people have never been exposed to national attention, and you can speak to this.
Exactly.
They have no idea what the pressure that you've experienced. Like,
right.
You've experienced at a young age, as a person who had no desire to be famous other than be a great athlete, out of nowhere, you get hit with this barrage of attention where you're on Fox News and this and that, newspapers, and some people are labeling you in the most horrible way, and some people, we're proud, and she's standing up for women in sports, and you got this conflict, and you're in the fucking center of it. Right. And you got crazy people who rush the stage and hit you, and the cops say, we can't do anything that doesn't show us as an ally to that community. Like, that's not even America. Like, that's La La Land. They're living in the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. Those people are out of their fucking minds.
The Willy Wonka chocolate factory sounds better, though.
It sounds way better. But they're literally out of their minds. Like, and this is unsustainable.
It is.
At some point in time.
And we realize that because, honestly, truth and sanity, they always prevail.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a matter of time. Unfortunately, it takes unfortunate circumstances, like the whole Leah Thomas thing, like the San Francisco State thing, like the things that continue to happen. It takes those to really see the harm and the severity and the likelihood that they continue at an exponential rate. So again, I kind of look at what's going on, or in particular what happened to me as a lemons to lemonade thing. Right? You take something that should have never happened to anyone. But you do good with it, and that's certainly what I've been trying to do over these past, 2 years. And it has. There's been a lot of good stuff that's been done. We see a lot of the negative. We see a lot of the bad. And certainly that's what's highlighted because that's what That's what gets attention. That's what gets clicks. That's what gets likes. But now, in just 2 short years, 24 states have some sort of fairness in women's sports bill, when only, I think 3 years ago, only 1 state did. So that's pretty incredible. Lots of traction, lots of momentum. Like I said, 4 states implementing a bill now that defines the word woman. We've seen lots of pushback at the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. So there's been lots of good things that have been done. And I certainly choose to celebrate the little wins when we get them.
Well, what you've done is very courageous, because I know the kind of pressure that you must have experienced. And I know the hate that's come your way, and you handle it with class. And that is not a learned thing. I think that speaks to one of the things that I think is like one of the most important things that kids can ever get involved in, and that's sports.
Definitely.
I know people think of sports as being like, if you're an intellectual, you think of it as being like a jock or a meathead thing, but it teaches you a resolve. It teaches you, when you have to swim 6 hours a day, like, you have to be strong.
And it transcends beyond just your athletic achievements.
Which is my point, is how you handle this, the way you handle it.
And honestly now, like, I love pressure. I love it. I love setting goals and achieving those goals, which sets me up perfectly for this position. And you're right, like, I would highly encourage. My parents did it. My parents made me play sports. And when, my dad being a professional football player, he did not, I won't say he didn't, he never really cared what sport I played, but when I started swimming, he's like, Riley, come on, that's not a sport. I'm like, Dad, it is a sport. Like, it's hard. Like, we work hard. He's like, no, Riley, it's not a sport. Then I started dating a swimmer, and my dad was like, Riley, any sport, his justification was any sport where a man has to wear panties and competes. Like, they're gay, Riley. He's like, you're dating someone who's gay. I'm like, Dad. And now he's my husband. And now, of course, he knows he's not gay, and he's the best. But it's just, but all that to say.
Funny. That sounds funny.
Yeah. He's, I had to refrain him from going in the locker room at that national championships. I called him and I'm like, Dad, there's a man in our locker room. Because we didn't know this was going to be the arrangement until we saw it, until like we were actually in there with this, again, 6'4" man stripping down, fully intact, exposing himself inches away from where we were simultaneously fully undressed, right? Like, I can't even put into words like the feeling of having your back turned and all of a sudden, again, naked, hearing a man's voice in the locker room. It's like, it was inherent for every girl in that changing space to cover themselves. Like, whether it was with their hands or their towels or their clothes, like, it was inherent.
That's so psychotic.
So I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, there's a man in this locker room. He's like, Riley, I'm coming down there, and I'm going to handle this myself. And I really was like, Dad, like he would do that. And I'm like, no. We already have one man in the locker room. We don't need to. And secondly, like, you'll go to jail, and I don't want you there. So I got this. I can handle it. Which, again, the things that I think set me apart from some of my teammates or competitors or other people in my same position is, right, playing sports. I credit so much of my success and impact that's been had to playing sports. Secondly, it's having a strong family foundation. I have 2 parents, 2 amazing parents who love each other. Everyone around me, like my grandparents, all in very healthy, loving relationships. I don't have a lot of divorce around me or in my family or anything like that. I've got lots of siblings. We're all so close. So I think my family foundation is a huge aspect too. Again, what kind of set me apart. And third, again, is my faith. Just knowing the outcome, like we just previously spoke about, like knowing how this all ends and really trusting that and having faith in that, and it just knowing the battle is already won. That's certainly what keeps me grounded and keeps a smile on my face and an incredibly light heart, even when these crazy freaks at San Francisco are like running at me. The first thing I do is pray for them. I'm like, oh my gosh, you look miserable, and I can't imagine having that much hatred in my heart. So I think all of those things are kind of what maybe made me a little different. The combination of those things, no one thing over the other, but set me apart from some of my peers.
You're the right woman for the job when it came along. That's what it is. It's really like the universe put you in that position because most people wouldn't be as uniquely disciplined about chasing this down as you are.
And it's a big task. Like, there's always something. There's always some story. There's always someone. You die. Actually, I know you're similar, right? Where, like, the messages I get daily from parents, from coaches, from young female athletes who this is happening to, who they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I just talked to the girl. I don't know if you saw this video. It was the basketball game in Massachusetts recently, where you've got this, like,
Yeah, I did.
6-foot-something guy who injured 3 girls before halftime of this game, causing the team to have to forfeit because they didn't have enough players left to play the game. Talking with this team and this girl, like, she's 13 years old, and she's getting pummeled to the ground by this guy, and she's online reading the comments and stuff, and which I never advise, but she is, and there's people calling, this girl a wuss and saying that she's being a baby and she's fine, and she reads that, and it's really hard for her.
I guarantee those people.
Of course not, right? You know what clip I loved? It was on this show talking about Keith Olbermann.
That guy's the gift that keeps giving.
He's the gift that keeps giving, and
He's the
never.
Babylon B version of a Democrat. He really is.
I want to know if he's still crying urine. Did you see all that?
What was going on with him?
The Supreme Court.
AG1 has been helping me feel healthy for years, and if you've been listening to this podcast at all, you've probably heard me talk about it, not just in ads, but with guests, my friends. I tell everyone, AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, and immune support. So it really covers all your bases with one drink in the morning. And that's my favorite part. It's very easy. With the free welcome kit, you get everything you need to start your day right. You don't have to remember 20 different pills or vitamins or supplements, just one scoop in cold water and you're good. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 now and you'll get a free welcome kit that includes a shaker bottle, canister, and metal scoop, along with a 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/Rogan. That's drinkag1.com/Rogan. Check it out.
Supreme Court ruling 9-0 in Trump's favor, of course, and he commented back to someone on social media. It was like someone was basically like, "Dude, cope, cry harder. Your liberal tears taste awesome." And he said, "These aren't tears, you fascist. It's pee or urine." And I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? You're crying urine? I'm so confused.
It's crazy to say that's fascist too.
But I saw this clip on your show where you were highlighting, how he came for me,
yeah.
And I'm like, dude, who are you? I don't even know who you are. And I'm that's hilarious, right? I very proudly finished my career as a 12-time All-American, 5-time SEC champion, the SEC record holder, the fastest person to ever come out of the SEC in the 200 butterfly, making me one of the fastest Americans of all time. SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, SEC Community Service Leader of the Year. I could keep going on. And it's like, this senile old man wants to attack me. He still lives with his mom in her basement. I asked my dad, I'm like, who is this guy? I don't even know who he is.
I think he has his own place, but he's definitely insane. Yeah,
no.
He's insane, but he's insane in a very unique way. He used to be a really good baseball broadcaster.
My dad
real baseball.
loved him.
But then he got really nutty during the Trump administration. And that Trump derangement syndrome, that's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I think there's some people that are fragile already. The world is just like to the anxiety and this and that. And also this position of being the person of virtue, the angry, loud voice of reason. That's a weird banner to carry when you don't have your own shit together. When your own life is chaos, your fucking mental health is very unsteady, and you're out there preaching and telling people what to do. And as you start losing, and Trump's the president now, and you're like, he's gonna get arrested, and he never gets arrested.
Right.
And then they're gonna take him off the ballot, he's an insurrectionist. No, the Supreme Court says unanimously.
Right.
No. It's just like it further compounds, and you never get a win. You never get a win. You get a little bit of a win when Biden won, and then the chaos after the Biden administration and all the things that we knew were true, that he was mentally compromised, all those things come out. That's not a win. So then you're just in this constant state of like anxiety and chaos and saying nonsense things, like almost like he would want you to come after him because you came after him so hard. It was so funny when you showed like all your medals and all your shit. Like, the fuck are you talking about, stupid?
And my motto is like truly like, and I feel like I for the most part pretty much live by this, like don't punch down, like don't give someone attention when that's clearly what they're vying for is attention. But I literally could not resist myself when it came to him, and it was so tragic because I'm showing him like all the accolades and stuff, and as I picked one of them up, it's a glass trophy. I drop it and I broke it, but let me tell you, it was so cool because the SEC saw this video that I had made and dropping one of my like all SEC first team honors, and they sent me a new one, and they're like, we're so sorry that you had to waste your time and break a trophy over Keith Olbermann. We wanted to send you a new one.
Good for them.
Totally.
Good for them. That's funny though. Even the way you handled it when you dropped it.
Like whatever. I've got more of them. Who cares, Keith Olbermann? I don't care about this trophy. I don't even want this trophy.
People like him are really fascinating because the social media interaction, it compounds mental illness in a way that I have never seen in my life with anything. There's nothing like it. It is a zombie apocalypse. It's weird. There's so many people that are just like deeply involved in social media interaction all day long.
And look, social media, of course, is a blessing. I would argue it's a bigger curse than it is a blessing. And you're right. We see people like on my X feed who are on there posting all day long. I'm like, what do you do? Do you have a family?
Yeah.
Do you have a life? Like, do you work? Like, I'm so confused how you have time all day long, every hour, every day to be posting something.
That's their life.
It is their life.
There's a lot of people like that is their life. And they sort of accumulate these bubbles of people that they communicate with.
Right.
They stay in these echo chambers and they exist there forever and they don't go outside. And they wonder why they're depressed.
That's so true.
It's what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Human bodies, I firmly believe, have a physical requirement. And if you don't meet that physical requirement,
you've got to get enough sleep.
Yep.
You've got to drink enough water.
All that.
You've got to exercise.
You have to.
And you're right, the people
feel like shit
are doing these things.
Right.
Yeah.
On Twitter all day. They're just like, it's compounding their mental illness. They're probably already medicated.
Definitely.
And then here they are, just getting after it with strangers. Getting, fuck you, you're Hitler, you fucking Nazi. It's like, it's so wild to see. And it's all getting accentuated by algorithms, specifically to try to extend your engagement and keep you hooked. And then when you see something like TikTok that will not let opposing viewpoints, even viewpoints that are
even if you question the narrative.
I mean, if you go to China, their TikTok's all about scientific achievements, athletic achievements, martial arts. It's all about positive role models, exercise routines. It's all like super, and you can't be on after 10 p.m. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Crazy.
Get ready for war.
Yeah. No, they're laughing at us.
100%. I'm laughing at us. How are they not laughing at us? When I see Rachel Levine stand in front of everybody and give advice on health, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's so true, right? Not only the fact that this is someone who is injecting themselves with foreign and unnatural hormones and substances. Rachel Levine is obese. I'm like, why are you our Assistant Secretary of Health or whatever the name is when you're quite literally overweight?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure I should be listening to you on anything?
Administration, they've stuffed some of these like very questionable people that happen to be non-binary or trans or whatever in these roles just for optics. That's what they did with that Sam Britton guy, the guy that was stealing women's clothes.
That's the suitcase stealer.
He had some job with nuclear waste disposal. He looks like a Dr. Manhattan character.
Totally.
Like, he literally, you look at him with his shaved head and his lips, it looks like a bad guy in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Stealing women's clothes.
And you're right. They've sprinkled that throughout in all of the different departments and realms, and here we are suffering the consequences.
It's so bizarre because, again, In other wars, you had to use weapons. That's the way to do it. I mean, they had espionage. They definitely did steal information and find out strategies and tactics, but not like today. Like where you can literally infiltrate a whole section of the country and have them believe that they have to adhere. If you're going to be left, if you're going to be on the side of good people that want a social safety net and they want welfare and free education, if you're going to be on that side, you also have to be on the side where perverts don't exist anymore. There's no more sex offenders. There's no more pedophiles. There's minor attracted people and trans men, and gender dysphoria is just problematic and transphobic. And what it really is just your identity. And there's a spectrum of genders. And if you don't use Caesar, we're going to put you in a cage.
Crazy. If that's not true.
But this is...
It's reality.
But this is 2024. This didn't exist in 2004.
No.
What does 2044 look like?
And that's honestly what we should be asking ourselves. Yeah. I think too often we get kind of wrapped up in like the here and the now, and ultimately that's how we've gotten to this point, right? You give an inch, I take a mile type thing, and we don't see the harm in it at the time. But yeah, we should be looking ahead 20 plus years, 5 years at this matter. Things are so expedited. We should be looking ahead 5 years. Yes. And again, if we're willing to deny man and woman, what's the next thing they're going to ask us to deny? And it sounds crazy, but like age, we've seen some people who identify as trans age out of Canada and different places, even some here in the States, who write this story of this like 55-year-old some man competing with the 13, 14 girls.
He identifies as a 15-year-old girl.
Which sounds crazy.
And
but
changed
it's
in the locker room with them.
It sounds crazy, but that denying age is the exact same premise as denying sex.
You can't deny race yet.
No, not yet.
That's the lie.
Not yet.
But some people have tried it with Korean.
Yeah.
That one dude, he said that he was transracial. He believes he's Korean, so he got his face like operated on, so he'd look with more Korean-like features.
He's come around now. And,
it's not anymore?
Well, I don't know the status of like surgical procedures, but I think he has a book out now that talks about kind of like how he was totally enthralled in like K-pop and all this stuff and really believed to be a part of this, but now is like, and like all the woke gender ideology stuff, and now he's totally like, whoa, what did I do?
Now he's going to go to CPAC.
Now he's going to go to CPAC. That's what he's doing now.
That would be a good move for a guy like that, strategically, for a career. If you want more attention, just go hard right. Go
all the way. No looking back.
I want to be a man again, it says. Oh, his detransitioning journey. Yeah, but it says I want to be a man again. Was he ever a woman?
It was just at the beginning of the thing. So.
Yeah, there's always been crazy people, folks. And when you give crazy people the opportunity to be protected under the walled garden of the LGBTQTAI+, you're inviting crazy people to infiltrate your organization, which will fuck up any legitimate concerns that people have of letting people live whatever way they want to live. The way I look at this and the way I look at all things is I don't ever want to tell people what to do. I don't want to tell anyone what to do, but I'm always very concerned when people do want to tell people what to do, because I know what that thought process sets off alarms. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to control people. Why are you trying to control people?
Right.
What is your thing about? Some people like to control people. It's a natural inclination that human beings have had since the beginning of time. They do it through gossip and rumor and try to destroy people's character.
Right.
They do it through subterfuge and sabotage and espionage. They want fucking power.
Of course.
It's normal and natural. And if you just operate on that principle, always look at the people that are trying to restrict your rights. And why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Because people do that. That's a thing. You might not do that because you're a good person.
Right.
You know, maybe you're just a normal person who wants to just live a normal life and play golf on the weekends and have a family and be normal. There's people out there, that's not their game.
That's not their game.
Their game is a different game, and you've got to be able to see that. And if you can't see that, you're just going to go along with it because you're a good person. And you life-affirming, saving, gender-affirming care. You just say the words.
Right.
They don't even mean anything to you. You're just saying what everybody in your cult says.
Totally. And I could not agree more. Right. These people who say, you're transphobic or you're anti-trans, first of all, that doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't really care if someone says that about me. But second of all, look, my stance isn't anti-trans. If, just like you said, what someone else does behind closed doors, what Leah Thomas does behind closed doors, no, I don't support it. No, I don't agree with it. But live your life just like I'm going to live my life. Like you said, I don't want someone telling me how to live. So no, I don't agree or support, but do as you do. It shouldn't cost my taxpayer dollars. It shouldn't affect my rights. But if it doesn't, by all means. So really, the stance that I'm taking, that I feel like majority of Americans have taken, is advocating for transparency more than anything, right? Like, if something is advertised for women, boom, it's for women. That's not to say you can't have a co-ed
But it's only
team.
women that are getting harmed by this. Only women.
The whole thing.
It was always to protect women. It's trans women. That's
There
what
was
it's an oppression Olympics. It really is.
There was the regional college track and field meet where a male runner competing on the women's team at Rochester Institute of Technology, RIT, in New York, this past week competed, broke the regional meet record, of course. The girl who got second was an African-American female. Let's call this what this is. This is a white man standing atop the podium. Left, crickets. Nothing. So I think Oppression Olympics is actually a great way to put it.
Really what it is, because no matter who you are, trans trumps that. It's the ace.
It's the top.
It's the top.
And if you're a black trans man, or I guess what they would call, I guess a black trans identifying male, you're the king
Black
slash
trans woman
queen.
or black trans man.
See, it's a male.
So you.
It's trans woman, but I don't like saying all that. Remember?
Oh, okay, right,
yeah,
right.
Silly
So
stuff.
a
trans identifying male who is
Right,
black, who's a man who identifies as a woman.
You win.
You are the winner. You are the most oppressed. Which, what an odd world we live in, to where you want to be a victim. You want to be marginalized. You want to be an oppressed. Because what's the alternative? An oppressor. And we have learned as a society that there is nothing worse than being an oppressor.
Right.
So you'll do anything, and not to dilute what it means to be trans or people who genuinely struggle with gender dysphoria, not to dilute this, but people would much rather be oppressed than be an oppressor. And the white man has always been the oppressor. Not anymore. They found a way to really curb that. Just say you're a woman. Grow out your hair, put some lipstick on.
And you can dominate women.
And you can get into women's prisons. That's a big push we've seen.
47 biological males are in California prisons right now.
Crazy. You know how many went into, to your point, how many women went into men's prisons in California?
How many?
One. She had 3 months left of her sentence. So, no time. But yeah, we've seen in New Jersey, Ohio, California, Kansas, New York. In New York, they have posted placards in all women's prisons talking about pregnancy prevention. And you know what they did in California prisons? Over Super Bowl Sunday, where everyone's distracted, right? Like, no one's paying attention. They had supervisors come in, working overtime, to implement in women's facilities, women's prisons, condom dispensers and dental dams. So not only, look, sex in prisons is not allowed. It's not, you're not allowed to do that, or not supposed to do that anyways. But by putting condoms in all women's facilities, not only are you essentially allowing it, it's as if you're encouraging it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's nuts, but how many pregnancies did they have before they had to do that? How many instances of STDs did they have before they had to do that?
And that's the thing I've seen in California prisons now, where AIDS and HIV is running rampant in women's prisons. I know it. It's crazy. But again, to your point, like, even the whole language thing we talked about, like, we don't see men's language being infiltrated and taken over, like we have this attack on the word woman or the word female. There was just a bill in California, again, last week, where it would replace female in all state statute with the word person. We're not seeing that go the other way. I think for a couple reasons. First and foremost, men wouldn't put up with it for a second. Could you imagine, right? Like, women are now called cervix havers, or uterus owners, or menstruators, or bleeders, or chest feeders, or birthing person. Could you imagine the equivalent, right, to egg producing? If we started calling men sperm producers, or we started calling men erection havers, could you imagine the outrage from men? But it shows you too, like, the minute men felt threatened with the whole Bud Light thing, Bud Light essentially lost $27 billion overnight. But their next commercial, which shows you how money moves a lot of this stuff, their next commercial was a big burly man on a motorcycle with the camo can. Like, they're not following red or blue, they're following green. But it shows you too, like, we talk a lot, especially in this space that I've kind of been involved in, of the physical differences between men and women. But I think how the whole language scene, how I portray it, is we see the innate characteristic differences between men and women, because the same assertive, dominant men who have always and will always be men are the same men claiming to be women, demanding the language that we use. And the same apologetic, emotionally driven, empathetic women who have been and will always be women, when they enter into a man's space, they're not demanding anything, because again, they're the same women they always have been. And it shows the differences that we possess within our characteristics almost innately.
Without a doubt. And it's such an important point to point out, because this is the problem that a lot of feminists are having, where these biological males are calling themselves women and entering into these women's spaces and then dominating the way men dominate things,
right,
and behaving the way men behave.
Of course.
And it's, unfortunately, a lot of it is supported by a lot of these older liberal women, which is really strange. It's like they can't see, like, this is you. This is your group. For being virtuous, for the sake of, like, signaling to the tribe that you're willing to be a fucking loon and buy into this where it makes no sense whatsoever. It's a tribal thing. It's a cult thing.
I testified before Congress last month or whenever it was, about the importance of, or I guess really urging the Biden administration to halt with their illegal administrative rewrite of Title IX. I testified before Congress and the Senate many times, and so, which, it's unfathomable to me that a 23-year-old, recent college graduate, college swimmer at that, has to go to D.C. to sit in front of our members of Congress, again, the beating heart of the American Republic, and explain to them that men and women are different. And then to be on the other side of that table and watch as they have these super confused looks on their faces. And so I'm there testifying. One of the Democrat witnesses, I forget her name, but she was the president of the National Women's Law Center. In her testimony, she says that women should just learn how to lose more gracefully. I'm like, did you really just say that? And you're the president of the National Women's Law Center. What a disgrace you are.
What a crazy thing.
And it was hilarious because Representative Lee, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, she was the ranking member. It was supposed to be, I believe, Katie Porter, who didn't show up. But anyways, ranking member Lee, she starts reading her opening monologue. The first words that come out of her mouth is she says, "I can't believe that I'm forced to sit here and listen to this transphobic bigotry." And really, I felt so sad when I heard that. Because again, a sitting member of Congress, and she resorts to name-calling, not dissuading from my side with facts or logic or reasoning or common sense or science. What happened to follow the science, right? Name-calling. And so it's my turn to read my testimony. And I read it, I finish it, and I didn't even mean to say this, but it just kind of came out of my mouth. And I looked at her and I said, "Representative Lee, if my opening testimony makes me transphobic, then understand, by your own logic, your opening monologue makes you a misogynist," which, as you can imagine, sent the hearing into a tailspin. And she says, "I want her